Hi there, Cosmic Family. My name is Jeliel, and I am here today to talk about the astrological energies of the next week from July 27th until August 2nd. We have several aspects this week, but we can condense all of them in two events that are very important. The first one is tomorrow, July 27th. According to this method of the true node, North Node is going to move to Aquarius and the South Node to Leo. I'm going to make a video, another video explaining this because it is an extensive topic. But these are the mathematical points, that are marking the direction of our individual and collective purposes. And let's remember that with purpose, I am not referring only to the mission or service that we can offer, but all the evolutionary experiences that we came here to integrate in this incarnation. And in these areas, in these signs, are going to happen the eclipses until 2028. So even though the second eclipse of this season is going to be given in Pisces, the first one is of Sun in Leo on August 12th. And we are going to have another one of closure in Virgo in the first part of 2027. I am saying this because this responds to the previous nodal configuration, which is Pisces Virgo. So in a great extent, these nodes respond to occupy our role. I'm going to make a summary in a way that we can actually contribute to the growth and the evolution to our community, to our society. But in order to do that, we have to do this cleansing of the low aspects of the energy of Leo, being excessively centered in ourselves and in our personal interests, behaviors that could pretend the contrary, but actually possess the same shadow, which is, hiding who we really are, avoiding showing ourselves in an authentic way to be accepted, among many other aspects that I'm going to expand on later. On the other side, on July 29th, we have the full moon in Aquarius, and this event we have been feeling it since the last week because, these contain all the aspects that are going to be perfected in this one. Let's go with this event. Full moon in Aquarius, July 29th, degree 6 with 30 minutes. Even though the fixed signs, which are Scorpio, Aquarius, Taurus, are going to, Leo, of course, are going to feel this a lot, especially if you have planets close to this mathematical degree. The truth is that we are all experiencing this in a very strong way because this is being given in a context of the eclipse season that already has started. And because it has this configuration that I've been mentioning in other videos, which is the Barbeau basket, that includes all the transpersonal planets, Neptune, Uranus, Pluto, and we have to add Jupiter in Leo, and we have to add the Sun in Leo right now. So this is all producing this acceleration of inner and external experiences that are leading us to a new level of creation of realities. So the principal aspect is that the moon in Aquarius, it is in a quite close conjunction with Pluto retrograde in Aquarius. It only has 2 degrees of distance. And at the same time, the Sun and Jupiter, they are opposing to them. So the union of the Sun and Jupiter is perfected that same day. So it has a lot of strength, and it is a conjunction that happens once a year, and it is showing us how we can align ourselves to our purpose, what we need to approach in order to create expansion. And in Leo, this has a lot to do with our expression towards the outside, exposition, people that are exposed, the image, that the image that we are sustaining can be in the greatest coherence, in the greatest possible coherence with what is happening inside. The loyalties are very linked with Leo, recognizing which one of those loyalties could actually be being limited. It has to do with the creative expression, creations, projects, passions that are allowing us to play with life, to enjoy life. And it also has to do with children, with kids, sons and daughters, or the inner child. It all depends on the house of your natal chart where you have the degree 6 of Leo. So we are right now in this moment where it is shown what we have cited close to the to February 17th. We had an eclipse in Aquarius there, which is a new moon, which was a new moon, and that eclipse was talking about the rupture, the breaking of an old ancient structure, along these months, a base that in which we couldn't continue because it wasn't fertile anymore, or because it didn't represent giving value to ourselves anymore. So right now, an information is being illuminated and we are closing a cycle. So the following one can be opened. And one of the qualities of Aquarius, being a sign ruled by Uranus and Saturn, is that the revelations many times could be very unexpected. It could be very sudden, and they are breaking with a way in which we were perceiving reality, so we can build, which is Saturn, from a different space. Aquarius also represents freedom, a freedom that the soul wants to experiment, and that with a conjunction with Pluto retrograde in Aquarius could involve facing a shadow, a part of us that generates a lot of rejection, and that there is much tendency to project that rejection, that part that we don't like of ourselves, on the outside. This could involve allowing the death of that part of us, going through the destruction of an aspect of our identity that could be linked with a situation, a relationship, whatever thing. But it is not the destruction because of the destruction. It is a death that actually possesses an enormous purpose of growth and rebirth. So we can reveal this light, this inner power, and that can actually enable new opportunities of prosperity, happiness, and enthusiasm, because this is Jupiter in Leo, creating this opposition. But if we don't have energetical or physical place, we cannot be reached by the new. Therefore, we are like doing this porch so we can generate this space. And well, this energy is inviting us to this authenticity, this real authenticity that is going through the identifications that goes beyond the identifications of our personality, the cultural conditionings, our beliefs, fanatisms, or the implanted expectations of what other people are pretending that we should be. This part of us that many times is revealed when life puts the pressure, when external situations are pushing us to make this purification so we can enter in contact with that authenticity. And Plutonian energy, especially with attention, has a lot to do with going to the underworld, in this place in which the monsters are being revealed, with the darkest perceptions are distorting reality and are leading us to the extreme of our emotions, the obsessions, the low passions that could justify imbalanced behaviors of other people or our own, those of our own. Hate, anger, revenge, frustration, all of this is part of the contact with the underworld. So also the dualities, like the other is the enemy, the other wants to destroy me, or that external situation is a threat that is activating the state of anxiety and survival. So we feel the need of attacking, controlling, manipulating, so we can protect ourselves, or the other polarity, making decisions that are actually representing running away, hiding ourselves of what generate this enormous fear. So of course, this could awaken the will of controlling external situations or what is coming towards the future, producing this great disconnection of what we are doing or inhabiting in the present moment. And that is precisely what produces this resistance and these fears that could have a foundation or not. Or perhaps we are in resistance because we don't want to face a situation and go through that thing to understand what is actually showing us or what it can show us. Or perhaps because we feel that certain situations could be unfair, or because we need to, make decisions. Pluto in Aquarius has a lot this color of what is fair for everyone. I mean, what responds or don't respond to this ideal humanitarian, this humanitarian or social ideal. But in here, we are actually invited to understand that what is being manifested exactly as it is happening whether we like it or not, is what has the potential of revelation of light. And with this, I'm not trying to say that we don't have to do anything, but it is about doing this registration of from which places we are acting, with which intention, we are doing things. Because if we are, making this rebellion towards something with this lack of responsibility, this means Uranus in absence of Saturn, this also has its consequences and manifestations. And precisely, there is nothing more liberator than going through our fears, or the parts, or recognizing our parts that were repressed or denied. Because beyond what we feel, while we are doing that, and that could not be comfortable, when we are on the other side, we can actually recognize that we had the power to do that, and that what was left behind couldn't actually accompany us. And this is also about identifying how we are ceding the power to external situations, or to other people, so they are affecting our inner peace. And when these battles are happening, because they happen to all of us in different phases and forms, this is an invitation to look at that part of ourselves that is retaining ourselves in a prison, and the uncomfortable emotional states are pointing us the core, the root of the imbalance. Perhaps this is the attachment to this seeking of acceptance and recognition, external recognition, where people cannot offer that, or paying the price of losing our integrity. Because Aquarius Leo, this axis, we're going to talk about this when we talk about the lunar nodes, has a lot to do with social media and what we are doing in exchange for attention. It is also about how our individual expressions are affecting a group, community, or environment. Perhaps the part that we need to face, it is the resentment that many people can use, towards the imbalances of other people, to justify our own violence and perpetuate a cycle where anyone is growing. Perhaps this is about enjoying, the suffering of others, and putting the mask of divine justice to that, when actually that is showing that if we are so that dependent of lives of other people, it is because there is something that is not okay in our lives. And perhaps we are choosing to distract ourselves, putting the look on the outside, or we are projecting our own experience in those situations. Perhaps this is a part of us that we need to recognize that is operating in a very egoistical and childish way, and that is resisting to make important decisions because they are not bringing immediate benefits, or because they are bringing pain, but in the long term they are positive. Perhaps this is about recognizing those dynamics of manipulation that we do, or that we allow, because we want to be right and we want to win, or because we don't want to let go, or we want to retain. Perhaps this is the illusion of superiority or inferiority, which are the same phase of the imbalances on the self-esteem, and that many times we only see in other people. But actually, when people are removing strong emotions, they are showing us something that we are containing, whether this is in a direct way or in opposition. I mean, people could be showing us the same pattern, or could be showing something that we are lacking right now and that we need to incorporate, or something that we are expressing in excessively. When we have transits of Pluto, there is also this tendency to put all of our focus in a very specific situation. Everything is centered in that experience. The thing is in which way we are approaching that. As I said, it is never comfortable to encourage ourselves to see what we don't like about, our experience, or what we are doing. Learning to inhabit our own darkness, the void, the uncertainty, and trusting that light always lights up again for the ones that are seeking that, and trusting that life is actually sustaining us, to open the way through that void, through the unknown. And even if we don't have all these certainties of how things are going to be developed in the future, we intuitively could feel that we need to continue. And sorry, as much as there are cycles of death and transformation, there are also cycles of expansion and light that are more linked with Jupiter. In the end, everything is temporary. So freedom is actually accepting that everything is going to change, and that the forms that those changes take are not actually not always in our control, but we can put intention and action in developing a capacity of response that could be each time more mature, that can allow us to transit those experiences. So if there is something that is not changing, and that we really want that to change, Pluto also is going to show us that if we are trying to force something without something on the outside, without making this deep transformation inside, there is going to be suffering, because many times the change that we want to see could be manifested, but it is related to, letting go of a behavior, letting go of, waiting for someone to change, or to life being immediately as we desire, and to surrender to the process as it is. Even with these emotions that could be, storming inside, but we could give this space to that, to channel them without that meaning repressing or projecting that in other people in a very selfish way. This is about learning to manage it, and I know that we are all learning about that. So other important thing, as I was commenting at the beginning of the video, is that the moon in Aquarius and the sun in Leo, they are creating these harmonic aspects with Neptune retrograde in Aries and Uranus in Gemini. Uranus, again, is the ruler of this event. So this indicates that there could be possibilities, connections, paths that we are not seeing yet, and that they could reconnect us with enthusiasm, with the will of learning and living, but they are only going to appear when we let go of control and when we do what we need to do. So intuition associated to Neptune could be speaking very loud right now, but it could be difficult to listen to that if we are, in this chaos of thoughts. Then we have two more aspects that is worth to mention. The first one is that Mercury, it is already direct in Cancer, and out of the stationary period. This means that it has already moved from the mathematical degree where it awakened, but it is still going through mathematical degrees that it went through in the retrogradation. We call this in astrology the post-retrograde shadow. And it is still in orb of a square with Saturn in Aries. I'm going to traduce this. This means that there was something that it was shown to us already, that we need to take responsibility and, go forward. Whether this is deciding, communicating, or sustaining in time, the conflict could be in this perception that is more, more directed towards the negative things, the pessimism. I don't know if I'm inventing this word in English, which is the shadow of Saturn, when truly, seeing all the negative could be the excuse that we are using to not face with courage what is coming in the path. So on the other side, that same day, the square between Venus in Virgo and Mars in Gemini is going to be perfected. I talked about this the last week. So this means that there could be an inner conflict that could be also be related with a relationship or something on the outside, that is a moment to resolve. Perhaps this is about being very, very practical with a punctual and a specific action that we need to take, related with a desire of the soul, because this is Venus, and stop distracting with these thousands of directions or projections towards the future that perhaps they are not even happening. I am referring that many times we could be thinking about the possible results of that action as a way of controlling, but we can only know when we do and when we go through the things that we need to go through. Clearly, this could involve a relationship, a change in a relationship. Perhaps it is the ending because of the context of the full moon, or perhaps it is a change of behavior. Perhaps it is letting go of a habit that is creating conflict with oneself and with other people, or implementing a dynamic from healthy boundaries and love to be at peace with oneself and with the environment too. And whether this involves a person or not, because with Venus we could talk about other desires. For example, the desire of healing our physical body. This could be very related with Virgo, or the generation of resources. We are speaking of decisions that are very grounded on earth, ideas or routines that cannot be only in the plane of the mind, and that we need to concretize. So I'm going to expand on the next video, in the next video, on the lunar nodes. Thank you, everyone. See you there. Ciao, ciao.